So, here we are. Ohio State's top 5 quarterbacks since the year 2000. Let's begin. Now, with a list like this, you have to take into consideration statistics, wins, wins versus Michigan, of course, and career. So how do you rank these? It's up to you. It's a subjective thing. And here's how I rank them. These are my top 5. And I know it's going to cause some controversy. But let's begin. Now, I know I'm leaving off some amazing names from Ohio State's lore and Ohio State's history in this century. I know I am. But with my number 5 quarterback of this century so far, I have, of course, the late Dwayne Haskins. Now, Dwayne Haskins had a phenomenal season. In my opinion, you can't leave him off the list. Yes, he only had 1 year. Yes, he did come in 2017 and win the game versus Michigan once JT Barrett went down. But Dwayne Haskins had the best year that Ohio State quarterback has ever had statistically. Most yards ever. Now, throughout his career, he had 5,396 yards passing, 54 touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions. He had a 12-1 record as a starting quarterback. And he had the best season in Big Ten history. It cannot be disputed, cannot be denied. So that's why, since he's the all-time leader for yards in a season, I cannot leave Dwayne Haskins off the list. He's in the slot in the top 5 Buckeye quarterbacks this century. Dwayne Haskins, number 5. Coming in at number 4, guess who it is? J.T. Barrett. Now, I know that'll light some flames for some people. Some people say, man, he was not that good. We were so sick of him at the end of his 4th year, even though he only won 4 straight Big Ten championships for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Wonderful career for J.T. Barrett. He is the Big Ten's all-time leader in yards, in touchdowns. You can't leave J.T. Barrett off this list. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much disdain you have for J.T. Barrett. He has got to make this list. He has to. J.T. Barrett, 9,434 passing yards. That's just passing yards. 104 touchdowns responsible for through the air alone. 30 interceptions, of course. Some at costly times. 3,283 yards rushing, 43 touchdowns. Like I said, the Big Ten's all-time leader in stats. He's 38-6 as a starter at Ohio State. How can you leave a man who won 4 straight Big Ten championships, defeated Michigan 4 straight times off this list? I don't think you can, and I think it'd be irresponsible to do so. So J.T. Barrett comes in at number 4 on my list of Buckeye great quarterbacks in this century. Now, number 3, the only Buckeye quarterback on this list to win the Heisman. That's right. It's 2006 Heisman Trophy winner Troy Smith. Troy Smith was 3-0 against Michigan, the original Wolverine Slayer, if you will. Maybe that was Rex Kern, a little before my time, but maybe that's him. Troy Smith had 5,270 yards passing, 54 touchdowns, only 13 interceptions, 1,168 yards rushing, and 14 touchdowns. He was 25-3 as a Buckeye starter. I remember him. He's my favorite quarterback of this century so far. He really is my favorite. Justin Fields is a close one as well. And maybe we'll get to him on this list. Maybe we won't. We will. But Troy Smith had that killer instinct, man. He was a leader. He had the intangibles that you just couldn't deny. He was the man at quarterback. Like I said, 3-0 versus the Wolverines. Came up so clutch in 2005 and 2006. Shoot. Led a 2004 team that had no business beating Michigan down in Columbus, even though the game was in the Horseshoe, to a dominating victory, 37-21 victory over the Wolverines in Columbus in 2004. Troy Smith, your 3rd-ranked quarterback of this century for the Buckeyes. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. Who do you rank at number 2? I rank Justin Fields at number 2. Phenomenal athlete, tremendous runner, tremendous athlete at quarterback and tremendous thrower of the football. Tremendous accuracy. Yes, I said tremendous about 7 times just now. Deal with it. It's fabulous accuracy. He had uncanny ability to make plays on third downs, whether that be through the air or on the ground. He would make a play, and he would make it succeed. Let's take a look at Fields' stats now. Fields, 5,701 yards, 67 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, I believe I wrote down, 1,133 yards rushing, 20-2 as a starter. Now, we have to keep in mind that, yes, he got vacated of a couple wins because of the COVID year. He led us to a national championship game, just as Troy Smith did. He was undefeated versus Michigan, 2-0, of course. Or, 1-0. Would have been 2-0 had they played in 2020, but they didn't play. Would have crushed them in the horseshoe. Never got to face the Wolverines in Columbus, as it was. Just a phenomenal leader of men, and one that we'll be discussing on the live a little bit later tonight of where he stands all time. And also, will he get traded from the Chicago Bears? We shall see. Justin Fields comes in at number 2, so you know who that means. Number 1 on the... That's right. It's C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud has been the best quarterback of this century for Ohio State. It's obvious to me. He's the most accurate, most prolific quarterback we've had come through Columbus. The most pro-ready quarterback we've had come through Columbus. His stats are as follows. 8,123 yards, 87 touchdowns passing, 12 interceptions. Had 1 rushing touchdown in his career at Ohio State. A 23-4 record. Led us to the national semifinals. Unfortunately, no Big Ten titles. The only quarterback on this list not to win a Big Ten title. For some, and the only one not to beat Michigan on this list, too. At least once. For some, that might totally remove him from the list altogether. And I can see why you would think that. And why you might go that route. I can see that. But to me, C.J. Stroud is on this list because he's going to be the best pro quarterback. Now, it's what they did at Ohio State, not what they did in the pros. So don't get it twisted. What he's doing in college is more important than what he's doing in Ohio State for this list. He's the best starter in Ohio State history because he's the most accurate. He's got the most yards. In 2 seasons, that is. He would have shredded J.T. Barrett's passing records had he stayed at Ohio State for another season. But now let's get... So we have our top 5. We have... we have Dwayne Haskins at 5, J.T. Barrett at 4. We have Troy Smith at 3, Justin Fields at 2, and C.J. Stroud at 1. So let's get to the honorable mentions are as follows. How do you leave a guy like Braxton Miller off, Peter? How do you leave a guy like Terelle Pryor off, Peter? How do you do that? Comes down to what they did at Ohio State in general. Now, Miller helped to win this right here, a national championship, but it wasn't a quarterback. It was a wide receiver. How do you leave a guy like Braxton Miller off who was undefeated against Michigan? Or, I'm sorry, not undefeated. He had the 2011 loss versus Michigan. How do you leave a guy off that had so many stats rushing and passing? How do you leave a guy like that off the list? Yeah, but how do you leave a guy like J.T. Barrett off the list, who's the Big Ten's all-time leading passer? How do you leave a guy like Dwayne Haskins off this list, who is not, or who led Ohio State all-time in passing yards for a single season? Those are guys you just can't leave off the list. So Miller gets the unfortunate nod. He's probably 6th for me. And of course, Terelle Pryor is undefeated against Michigan, 3-0. The 3 worst Michigan teams to face this century. Phenomenal leader, phenomenal, I would say phenomenal statistical leader, not phenomenal leader of men. But anyway, I leave Pryor off because of the scandal, and I leave him off because he just wasn't a prolific passer. Watching him pass, sometimes I had to flinch and look away. But he's a phenomenal guy. And I hope you guys, whether you agree or disagree, you comment below. What's your opinion? What do you think? Who's the top 5 quarterbacks in Ohio State this century? Name them below. Correct me if I'm wrong. Call me out if I'm wrong. Let me know. We'll see you guys later tonight for the live.